Okay, in this video we will be discussing how to use AA similarity and how to determine if polygons are similar. So to start, similar polygons, like we've talked about many times, have the same shape but different size. Okay? Same shape but different sizes are what similar polygons are. Now their corresponding angles, or the angles that match each other between the two triangles, are what we say congruent, represented with an equal sign and a tilde on top. And the corresponding sides, or the sides that match each other, are proportional. Which is represented by a colon. Remember, proportional means that I should be able to multiply all of my sides by the same number and get a value that is equivalent to the other triangle. So proportional means that I have the same scale factor. Okay? And that is the crux of similarity. We have to have polygons that have the same shape but different size. The angles have to be congruent, corresponding angles, and the corresponding sides have to be proportional or have the same scale factor. Okay? Now there are two types of similarity that we're going to talk about. The first one is AA similarity, or angle-angle similarity. And this states if two angles in one triangle are congruent, then two angles in another triangle are congruent to two angles in another triangle, then the triangles are similar. Okay, so just to recap, two angles in one triangle are congruent to two angles in another, means the two triangles are similar. And we know this because similarity states that corresponding angles are congruent. So if we take a look at the picture below, we have triangle ABC and triangle DEF. Triangle ABC, we see that A matches D, and if we look here, A has one arch mark and D has one arch mark. So the corresponding angles are congruent, so angle A is congruent to angle D. And then we see that the next one is B and E, so angle B and angle E, and they both have two arch marks, so angle B is congruent to angle E. Well, if we look at the last one, notice there's no arch marks, which means those two angles are congruent. So angle C is congruent to angle F. And if we look on our line here, they're both the third letter. So they are congruent as well. Which means that these two triangles have congruent angles. And since they're congruent angles, they are similar. Okay? Because they have all the same congruent angles. Okay? If we look at the example, okay, in our example here, sorry, I'm moving the camera real quick. Okay, in the example here, are the triangles below similar? So we're trying to see if they're similar. Well, if we say that triangle A, which has one arch mark, matches D, so triangle A needs to be similar to triangle D, and then we see that B and E, so we could say triangle AB and triangle DE. And then we see C is blank and F is blank. So if we say triangle ABC is similar to triangle DEF, then they are 100% similar because by AA because of the two angles that were given. So we can say that triangle ABC is similar to triangle DEF. Remember, with similarity, the order does matter because we have to correspond with the pieces that match each other. So one arch mark, A, D, 80, 80, B, E, blank, blank, C, F. Okay? So they have to match each other. But we could say that these are similar by AA similarity because two angles were congruent to two corresponding angles. So, what does this mean? Well, about the angles is that angle A is congruent to angle D, angle B is congruent to angle E, as they are both the second letter, and angle C is congruent to angle F. What it means about the sides is that AB, again, this means proportional to DE, since they're first and second. We can also say that segment BC is proportional to segment EF, as they are second and third. And then we could say segment CA is proportional to segment FD, as they are the first and third. And that is what it means to be similar. Okay? So recapping, once again, in order to have angle-angle similarity, we have to have two angles inside the triangle that are congruent to its corresponding angle. And remember, your similarity statements, the order of the letters does in fact matter. And that concludes this video.